Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone's having a beautiful, beautiful Wednesday. So we're midweek. And again, this is Wednesday Wisdom on Women of Light Facebook group. And if you're watching on YouTube, we would love for you to jump in and check out our Facebook group. We've got a beautiful, beautiful community here. And you just have to hit subscribe and push the bell, and you'll be able to see any information that we send out. We'll be sending out lots of wisdom and lots of information just to share with you on how to be a woman that shines brightly in this crazy, chaotic world at the moment, right? So, good morning, Donnamarie. How are you?
I'm awesome. Thank you, Elizabeth. Good morning to you in beautiful Sydney.
Yes, it's getting a little bit chilly. It's starting to get to that stage where I've got to think about putting my fireplace on and sorting out wood and all that sort of stuff.
Lovely.
Yeah, it's just getting that little edge.
Yeah.
So I have a shower of a morning with like I do a cold shower, and winter's really challenging to do it in. So I can feel it coming. It's like So, Donnamarie, we're going to be talking about being an empowered parent with unconditional love. Yeah?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
And so tell us a little bit about your story and what, what's brought you to talk about this topic.
Sure. I'm really excited that I've actually had the opportunity that I've had to come to here, and the reason like it is for so many of us who get into work processes and positions of leadership in a particular area. And parenting for me came about as a result of the kind of parenting that I grew up with, and that was an unkind parenting.
Yeah, most of us, right?
Yeah, most of us, and it was really part of that era. However, having said that, it didn't happen for everybody, and I'm really grateful to know that as well. And having come through my journey and to where I am now, even though I've been doing this work since pre-Bodhi, and he's 14 this year, but when I fell pregnant with Bodhi, it became really, really strong for me that this was the path I was to follow, and it was, my journey. And I had I grew up in what is now termed domestic violence, but we didn't know that at the time, and most of us did, as you just shared, Elizabeth. And what we knew as children, that was people were being unkind, and that was, so it's kind, unkind, and the unconditional love factor. And our parents did the best that they could do, and the people who we were brought up with, whether that was our parents or otherwise, did the best that they knew how to do. And the access to this kind, like your work, wasn't available back then to the majority of people. We did not have, computers, for example. They didn't exist when we were growing up in the early years. So my journey has been through the experience that I've had, so the lived experiences, which are now called traumas, and then actually being diagnosed with complex post-traumatic stress in Bodhi's early years, and going through that journey. And I used to say, I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy, not that I had an enemy, but it was that extreme. And even it's, commonly called, what do they call it? Post-traumatic stress disorder. It's still, that term is still out there a lot, and it was related to the vets, but actually the war zone, as in vets from wars. And war zones for many of us was our home, our family home. And so why I'm here and doing what I'm doing is to share with parents my learning, my trainings, because I've done so much training in this area as well in relation to children from pre-birth and conception right through to teenagers. And at the end of the day, when we're doing our inner child work, that's still who we are, at our core level. We're that little girl or that little boy way back when. And it's the experiences that we gained then. So how our parents responded to certain situations, how they behaved when we first went to a doctor or a dentist, how they reacted. So we took on all of that stuff, and that became our norm. And this process that I'm going to talk about today, I will talk generally about my work, but I really wish to introduce people parents to a process which is called, these days, it's called the Goulding process, or Goulding process, which is Goulding, and I'll give some information on that later. And sleep talk is what it was originally called, but it still has that as a subtitle. And this process is a 2-minute tool or resource that parents can use, and I can train them in that. It's incredibly simple. Use it for all their children, and it's known, it's been being used by pediatricians and all kinds of health professionals and childcare professionals for over 35 years. And I was trained in it by the lady who actually created it, and I'm incredibly grateful for her. Her name is Joan Goulding. And what it's noted as is the gift that keeps on giving, and also the proven parenting solution. It solves everything that that may appear as a challenge, behaviorally in particularly, but also developmentally for your children.
Yeah, wow. And so tell us a little bit, so you got complex PTSD.
Yes.
At it, we haven't spoken about this, but
okay.
You and I didn't talk about this prior to.
Okay.
I'm just going to ask her. We both went, let's go with the flow, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Would you say that, was it triggered by something in particular, or was it being a parent and the triggers of watching your child grow, knowing how you were treated? Because sometimes that repetition, things shift in you from seeing, this is how my parents behaved or reacted in this situation, and I felt like crap, I didn't feel loved, I felt unworthy, undeserving. I want something different from my child. And so is that something that happened with you, or was there a particular trigger that caused the PTSD in the first place? Or you don't mind me asking?
No, I absolutely do not mind, and it's a really important part of the story, so thank you for asking. So complex post-traumatic stress, or what is now called trauma, so to actually give it a collective naming of trauma, is, in my family and in my particular situation, we learned along the journey, not at the beginning, that it's something that I've had all my life. So it's an intergenerational component of
epigenetics, right?
Absolutely.
They're doing lots of research with epigenetics on the emotional imprints that that
carry through.
In our DNA. Absolutely.
I will list at the end here, some books that people can access as well that are really useful. So when we're talking here about ancestral family traumas, a gentleman there are quite a lot of people who work in that area, but there's a gentleman called Mark Wallin from the USA, and he's does profound work in that area. And so in my case, it wasn't a particular incident, it was a collection of incidents. So it's my ancestral, so that's one component, and I've actually dealt with that, and you're able to actually determine which areas have been completed in the resolution of the traumas from those areas. So what I'm not doing any now. I've actually finished going through the traumas, so now I'm actually in a safe space and living in my own personal energy, not the collective energies from my past.
Fantastic. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. And I mean, thank you. I'm immensely grateful, and it gives me the empowerment and the tools and resources to be able to share so many stories with other people without being emotionally triggered, which is what happens. And so in this lifetime, so having bodhi was undoubtedly, a huge element and reason for me to be on this path, for all of those reasons that you said. It was not, I don't see it as being a trigger for complex post-traumatic stress, though, that when that was diagnosed, we became aware, and this is the case with a lot of people who, when they are eventually diagnosed, or many are never diagnosed, because one, their professionals that they see still have not gone into the realm of considering that somebody who's presenting with, for example, digestive issues or anxiety or depression, this could be and mostly is symptoms.
An emotional component. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. And that's how it's presenting for that person.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting. And there are, so having, again, when I was first diagnosed, the gorgeous gentleman who diagnosed me, his first words after the diagnosis were, "It's not your fault. You haven't done anything wrong. Some people have done some really unkind things to you.
Yeah.
And your body is saying to you, you have to actually go in and actually deal with them now. They're demanding that you address this, and that's why you're having these experiences."
Yeah. And as we both know, and most, the most of the women on here, because we're all pretty evolved women, right?
Yes.
That things happen vibrationally first, it's a feeling, it's an emotion, and then it manifests in the physical body. So, whatever's going on in the physical is what, you look at the emotional aspect of it as well, or, where's the seed of this? So well
Absolutely.
done. And so let's get on to the fact that, like the information you were going to share about the
sleep talk, the process.
Yeah. So tell us more about that. It sounds very interesting.
Okay, I will give you some background in a moment, but I'll just give you some really basic testimonial from various parents as well around the world, because there are consultants in that field all around the world. And as a general rule, people who are professionals already use the process for their clients. So they introduce their as part of what else they're doing. It doesn't need to be used in that way, though. It can be used as a standalone and absolutely empowering. There was one that I read recently. So I have my own from my case studies, but one that I read recently, which really I found immensely profound in these times. There's a little boy, and he was 7 years old, and his mother. So this. I'm just going to say this because I'm very aware that people get triggered from various things. So this is a really deep and, presentation. So this little boy was having massive challenges in his life about not being able to go outside, not being able to communicate with other people, wishing to be alone, very fearful, and not being able to, connect with children in particular. And what triggered that for him was the very deep and challenging experience of his mother committing suicide.
Yeah.
And the father was introduced to the Golding process by a professional, a consultant, and he started practicing. And it's a nightly practice, and it takes around 2 minutes. So the actual process itself is 2 minutes. So it's about 5 minutes with prep, and just it becomes a practice. And it really is important that it's done on a nightly basis, as the general rule, by both parents. And he introduced the process, and within weeks, and I mean literally just a few short weeks, the little boy was instantly displaying new ways of being and being generally calmer. And it took, I think for this particular process, it was 2 months in the foundation process, which is the basic introduction. And then he actually became his normal self. And he lost all of the distress, all of the trauma. It wasn't that it was gone from his life, and it's not that he forgets, but he was able to, his body via this process was able to release the trauma that he experienced in a way that was not serving him and would not serve him in this life.
Yeah.
And what's the absolute gift in its foundation process of, I'm going to just call it sleep talk. It's but it's the Golding process. So from the Golding Institute. So it's TGP, the Golding process, sleep talk, which is quite elongated. So when I just use the term sleep talk, it's the abbreviation. And so the absolute gift that it is it provides the child, and you can do this pre-conception because the energy of the child is already there, waiting to come in. You can do it during birth, speaking to your child, if that's how you are inclined to be, or if that is how you would like to adopt to be as the parent to be. And also, so from preconception right through to teen years. When I first trained, when Bodhi was very, very young, there were many more limitations on what was believed to be how it could assist the process. Now it is mind-blowing and just wonderful through all the research that's done through universities and other organizations about how it can help. It now is able to be used not only for children, small children, however, also for teenagers, for where that fits with the family, that they're okay to do that. It actually continues to work through those years, where previously it was considered that once the child became a teenager, then their brain waves kicked in. Well, it was more about free will, you know. It's like, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah,
don't do that to me, and you know, all that kind of thing. Whereas they've learned through research ongoing that that's not the case.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
And and they can actually totally switch for teenagers as well, from really anti everything and wanting to hide in the bedroom and doing all the things that the classic teenager story is about, to flipping that to coming down the stairs one morning and just going, hey everyone, how you going? Awesome day, hey, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's really mind-blowing.
Fantastic. And isn't it beautiful that in this day and age, science is open to looking at the research into all these alternative methods and spirituality. You know, I actually got interviewed by a woman overseas the other day on shadow work for her university research paper, and she's doing an esoteric, I can't remember the name of the course, but she's doing an esoteric, you know, course at university.
And, it's mind-blowing.
Like just crazy. It's amazing, isn't it? So
the integration of everything.
Absolutely.
It's just beautiful, and it's wonderful because it honors both sides. So it's not saying one is right and one is wrong, because that is the way it has been for so long. Whereas now it's like together again, and this is this whole global place that we're in right now, energetically together we can do this. And we've got this.
Absolutely.
It's honoring. So what I didn't say, what I started to say just then, was about unconditional love. So what the process does is it actually sets up this resilience in the children from the very foundation process, and from the very first time you use it, it starts kicking in and just becomes stronger and stronger, because the child learns from a DNA perspective at a cellular level that the child is unconditionally loved by the people that they are their first carers, their mother and their father, or whomever it is that person is, as well as their siblings. And in the language that we use for the actual script, we'll use the word script that you use for each night during the process. We use the term we, and so we becomes known in their at a cellular level as the collective we, whatever that is. It's
creating an imprint.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And what it does is any learned experience that could be perceived as negative or unkind can be released, because what happens in the neuroplasticity is it gets replaced with what the process is imprinting. The language, however, and this is part of the having a person teach you the process and then guide you along the way, is specific, and it's about a forever use. So it's a lifelong process. So whatever is used, that is that imprint, is something that's for life. So it's, you know, for example, you know, people might like to say you are safe at home. You know, that's what we like to say to our children, and whatever. Children are not always safe at home. So using that language is actually not something that you would use. So there is some specific language. And, you know, for example, I was sharing with someone last night, you know, part of the script is mummy loves you, daddy loves you, we all love you. Some families don't use the word mummy and don't use the word daddy. So you replace your own language, your family language, into those spaces and wherever that appears in. And so this concept of unconditional love at a cellular level is the absolute gift that any child can be given, because we didn't get that. And it's from the scientific research, just speaking that doesn't get it to us at a cellular level. It is just words.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. I'm doing for my Conscious Creator Mastermind today.
Beautiful. I love that.
Yeah. We're having what we do, a weekly creative focus call. And that's what we're going to be talking about, is that words and affirmations are actually can be nothing if there's not the vibration and the energy that goes with it, right?
Absolutely.
You need to have the feeling of it for it actually to sink in, for it to be shifting the neuro pathways and creating a new pathway, you know, and that's all that neuroplasticity stuff that I love. So, and
epigenetics, etc. Yeah, it's wonderful.
Absolutely, it's so fantastic. And you know, it is language is so powerful, because you know, the words we say is, you know, like spoken words are creation.
Absolutely. And the way that we say them. So we can say exactly the same words with a different vibration, with a different tone, and create the opposite to what we're actually desiring to achieve. Yeah, incredibly powerful.
And the other part of that is, you know, the other thing that you said that I really loved is that whole, you know, like the trauma, the memory of something can still stay there, but the trauma is released from it. And so you're getting wisdom from it instead. You're coming from a different place, you know, you've got knowledge of, you know, not necessarily as children, they don't have that level of understanding. However, you know, like as adults, you can go, well, you know, that was an experience I had, and, you know, this is who I am now. Not have the triggers that are associated with that, which is the PTSD, isn't it? Like the, you know,
absolutely.
Like, you know, so
yeah, it's the fear, fantastic. And it's all fear. And it's wonderful how you spoke then about the wisdom, because that's what today is all about here. So the Wednesday wisdom, and I'm really grateful to be able to share this as well. And I just wish to add as a sidestep, and I would like to have a conversation with you possibly on here at a different time about another aspect. We have so many beliefs that are part of our journey to now, and about the human evolution to now. And it really is time, and this is what I am doing with all of the children's stuff. And children's stuff is for all of us, because we're all children. Is we have these beliefs, you know, like one of the ones that you just mentioned was, you know, children don't have that ability to understand this is trauma and that's my trigger and this is the emotion, whereas this is just an incident. And I'll always remember that, because we don't unsee stuff or don't, you know, unexperience stuff. But I don't need to be triggered by it. Children know that now. They are so conscious, and, you know, and I have this wonderful, what's the word I'm wanting? I have this bodhi. So he's my, not an example, that's not the word I'm wanting of. So I'm able to witness what he does, and witness what his children, what his friends do, and what they have done from when they were little, and see they are so cool. Like they are so advanced in their connection with the world, and you know, the language that they use, they're mind-blowing. And it's just really cool to see that for them, because we believe, assume, that's the word I'm wanting, that they're going to be feeling something from an experience that they had. They go, oh no, that was just such and such. And it's like, okay. And you know, when things happen for you as well, and their perspective is like, oh, okay, it's really worldly. They know it's not about them.
Absolutely.
It's not about them.
Yeah.
Having said that, there are, go ahead.
Well, it's so beautiful. Like my kids are always blowing me out with their perspective on things. So
it's wonderful. Having said that, there are a lot of children out there as well who need so much support and help now, because they haven't had that learning of resilience, or that experience. And so I keep on saying during these times, it's been forever. It's just escalated now, because their world is being impacted by lots of change that's unexpected, and things that are missing that they were expecting to appear, you know, like teenagers with their, what's the end of year? The
schoolies thing.
The formal that they have. So they've lost their formals, and for a lot of people that's still a really big deal.
Yeah.
And they're not with their friends, and as a peer support group, even though it's online, it's still not the same. A lot of people really are used to, a lot of children, I'm talking teens in particular, are used to physical experience and being one-on-one. And so they're missing that, and so the actual anxiety and trauma, which is so incredibly important.
And,
so that's
totally different to what we've experienced before in our lifetime, and we'll be very interested in the ramifications of this in the next 10 years.
It's really, so just on this story as well, it was predicted. I read it in a newspaper article, which was kind of like about this big in a little tiny corner, nearly 20 years ago, that mental health was going to be the biggest medical challenge for the world, starting 2016 it was. So we're now here at 2021, and look at what's happening.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was predicted.
Wow. Yeah, the chaos in life, right? And the unconsciousness that can, but more people are waking up, and more people are, the women that are on here, and just from a demographic, if that's the right word, from point of view, we do have a lot of women on here that are a little bit, like they're more in their late 30s to early 50s and 60s. So some of the women might be watching have grandchildren, and can support them in that. So if that's the case, or there's mothers on here that are loving the sound of what you've got to offer, how do people get in contact with you, Donna?
Okay, I'm in the process of creating a website, so we don't have that resource right now. So you're able to contact me either by my email, which is the easiest one, and or on Facebook.
Yeah.
Excuse me, I'm about to cough. Just 1 second, I'll just have a drink of water.
That's okay.
Good timing.
Have some water with you.
Excuse me. Okay, so my email is all lowercase, and it's Donna @ and my business name is bodhi&me, which Bodhi being my son, bodhiandme.com.
Excellent.
My mobile
and people can also
is 0400 169 855 on Facebook.
Yeah, excellent. So people can friend you on Facebook and message you that way as well. So you offer a free 20 to 30 minute chat if
That's
people
correct.
are interested, just to see if what you've got to offer can serve them and what's going on in their life. That sounds perfect.
Yes. So if people would like to contact me, I haven't set up the Calendly for this at the moment, but when you contact me, I will then send you a link to Calendly, and you can pop in a time that you would like to actually have a conversation. And I'd really love to do that for anyone. My goal, so I just share this as well. So I did a challenge at one of the TEDx's in Brisbane, TEDx Southbank, a few years ago, and I continue to keep that as my go-to reason why. And it is literally to collaboratively create social and cultural change to honour children and improve communities globally. And this process here is one step in that path.
Yeah.
And I'd be really grateful to help you all on that.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So one of the things that you just reminded me, because I get all involved in the conversations in the interview and totally forget that we're doing Wednesday Wisdom. So it's been a little while since I've actually asked this question to anyone. I'm just wondering if you've got some wisdom to share to the women just for today, that you can drop some wisdom in for them.
Okay, so my gift in this thought process for you, each of you, which I'm grateful to have learned and share, is that all of the love that we give to our children in what we do, to be able to give that in the way that we wish to give, we need to give that to ourselves first. So everything that we wish to do for our children, it's important that we do that for ourselves as well. So self-love, self-care will lead you to an easier space of being so that you can actually be in the presence that you wish to be for your child and children.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. And this process actually helps that too. So it changes the
say,
dynamic of the
assuming,
family.
Yeah, I'm assuming once you're in the process and talking that to your child, that vibration of those words are resonating out into your cells as well, right? So absolutely. Thank you so much, Donnamarie. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and such a lovely conversation. And for anyone that's interested, definitely get in contact with Donnamarie. You know, if you're struggling with anything to do with kids, then this sounds like a beautiful process that can support you in looking at shifting any of those generational patterns as well that, you know, like that we sometimes find ourselves in. So excellent. Thank you so much, Donnamarie. Take care.
Absolutely.
And we'll catch up again soon.
Look forward to that. And thank you, everyone. Have a gorgeous day. Cheers.